Hello, friends. Welcome to Akul Mac Live, and I am Chandrakant. And today we want to discuss about how we can drive ourselves. And in fact, I never thought about how can I, utilize my energy, which is finite, and therefore it's a very big subject to discuss. I will be joined by a special guest today to tell us more about this whole thing, how we can optimize our energy levels. So without further ado, let me welcome Mr. Kevin Cottam. He is the CEO of GoNomading Pte Limited, and he's joining us from Singapore. So let's welcome him.
Drum roll.
So Kevin, how are you today? Welcome, and we look forward to learning so many new things from you today.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I just got off doing a webinar for PayPal, and we were talking about energy management, actually, because of Mental Health Day yesterday. And so, yeah, it was very exciting to do so. So I'm happy.
Well, friends, we are live right now across all social media, including Instagram. And if you have a question, you can actually use the chat function to indulge with Kevin on the show live, and we will display your name and ask that question. So, Kevin, energy management, that is what we want to discuss today. As I said, I have never thought about energy management be linked to my performance and my mental state. What is your opinion about this? I mean, before we start going deep into it, can you tell us, how does these two are related?
Energy and management, is that what you mean? Energy and management, how are those two related? Or, yeah. Well, so there's a book called The Power of Full Engagement, which was written, I believe, in the early 2000s. And it's by Tony Schwartz and Joe Lure. And so they say that energy, not time, is the fundamental currency of high performance, which I love this quote very much so. So it's talking about energy, not time, as a fundamental currency. So currency can be money, can be a river, can be a current. It's all of this it is a flow. So energy is a current, right? So and within us, it's very important that we understand that we all have energy. We're built on energy. That's how the world exists and the planet exists, is on energy, not necessarily on time. And how we fill the time. And I think for us how do we manage this energy that we have, or lack thereof of energy? And because of all the situation of mental health and all of this particulars, I would say that our energy is really taxed. I mean, it is the great thing about understanding it is that how do they come together? We consciously as human beings love to manage things. And so, but I think it's the awareness of understanding that first of all, our bodies and everything that we do is driven by energy. And so it's a currency and it is finite. However, the great thing is we are renewable. We're just like a renewable battery. We are able to, if we use the right input. So that is important. And so that we get rid of the stuff that that drains us of energy, but also bring in what actually accelerates and boosts our energy. And I think that's the important thing, is how do we balance that? How do we manage that? That's what we're talking about.
I think many people would say that, it's a science, because you talked about energy, electricity, kinetic energy, we are like batteries and stuff like that. So how can we use science to understand what is our need and how we can plan it to our progression and also eventually increase our performance? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Science has done an awful lot of work, I believe, in different areas around energy. You just need to talk about mc squared, m is equals mc squared, right? And so energy in Einstein was an incredible input of how we can look at science and how energy is used. But I think, it's not just a science, it's also an art. And you brought that up a little bit earlier. And I just want to share with you, the art is in the management of ourselves and being able to do that, and mixed with the science of understanding that our energy is depleted. And our energy is depleted in different ways. And so the different ways that it is depleted and also boosted is through the mental energy, the physical energy, the social energy, the emotional energy, and the spiritual energy. So all of these are capacities, a way we can build our energy and gain from, but it also can drain us depending on the negativity and things. There's also a wonderful, by a scientist, and he's a psychologist, he's a scientist, and his name is Dr. Stephen Gilligan. And he says the river runs through you until it doesn't. So the river runs through you until it doesn't. So what does that mean? It means that this currency of energy is constantly running through you until it gets a blockage. It gets a dam that's put in front of you. It gets a congestion which is put in front of you. It gets, all of these are things that happen until it doesn't. Then that's when the blocks are happening. And that's where we start to find different ways of having to deal with burnout and all sorts of things that happen in our lives. And this has to do with the science of our bodies, right? And this is important, that we understand that we are energetic beings. And that is about movement. Everything is in movement. So you use the word kinetic. So whether it's kinetic or potential energy, right? Kinetic energy is the energy of movement. Potential energy, which is still, but it moves. There's still energy within it. It's bound. It's not free. And this is important to be able to have the balance between this potential, which might be silent and unbounded inside, and to be able to mix it with a dynamic and bounded way of living, so that the two bounds, who equalize each other, help to certainly work together to give us that impetus of having an energetic body, and therefore we're able to make better decisions, better conversations, all sorts of things that can drive, because energy is what we move from. And how do you get it? I mean, you need to have the right food. Food can either drain it or also accelerate it. We have to have exercise. We have to have good thinking. We have to have enough sleep. We have to have water. All of this stuff is science, and it's also an art of how to create this good food so that it is actually, helping us. We get enough nutrition. So our bodies are science, and the way they work together inside of us is like an art form. So everything is helping us in that sense.
Well, Kevin, I think what you're telling us that we can use science to evaluate our energy requirement. We need to have right patterns to sleep, right things to eat, depending on our situation. So we can actually use science to find out what is my need, and then I can have the right ingredients to generate potential energy and kinetic energy within our body. So I think that part is clear. But I think the question is, what gives me kick is different from what gives you kick, or what gives the other person a kick, because each person gets a different kind of kick in their life. And this is
absolutely.
So I think science is very methodical. You can make your Excel spreadsheets and you can follow the diet patterns, sleep patterns, and all that. But when it comes to this aspect, which is the art side of whole thing, it's very difficult because it's very subjective. Do you have any suggestions to our viewers about, controlling their life by utilizing the energy in positive things? I think that is really why I'm asking.
So I like to use the metaphor of a bank account. So a bank account, you have credits and you have debits. All right. And you also have a balance sheet, and you also have an investment portfolio, and you also have a variety of different bank accounts, perhaps. And this is, we look at these individually. So in each bank account that we have, there might be the mental bank account, the physical bank account, the spiritual, social, and emotional bank accounts. And in there, we need to do an audit. We need to do an audit in our lives what drives and gives us energy in that particular, or credits our energy in that particular bank account, and what also debits it. And so once you find out this audit, you can, because it is independent, it is subjective, it certainly is, everybody is different. Whatever gives you a kick, as you say, is different than what I get as a kick. So that's why the audit must be done individually, because it's not the same for everyone. But there will be some habits which do certainly overlap. It's just how do we do them and how do we interact with them? The important thing here is making micro steps towards a more energetic balance in your life. So I suggest is that you do an audit and you look at what credits and what debits that you have. And those debits, do you want to get rid of them, or do you want to transform them into something else, or do you just want to stop them completely? But it's a bit like looking at negative and positive, but it is looking at what boosts and what drains, or it's like credits and debits. So that's what I'm looking at, think of it as a bank account, because this is currency. Currency is a movement. And that is what we do in a bank account. It is always moving, sadly enough. It's mostly going out as opposed to coming in. But the point here is that often at different times of our life, that more is going out and not as much coming in the way that we have energy and things that drive our energy. And that's where the mental health issues have increased, is because the debits are high at this point in time. We need to find lesson, and we need to find more things in our lives that will energize or credit our life.
I think you're using a very interesting analogy when you try to compare it with banking system and talk about debits and credits. But I think it's easier said than done, and you definitely require, any normal human being will require a guru, a teacher, who will teach all this about what gives you kick, because I think energy is finite and we have to utilize the energy in the right fashion. So do you have any suggestion, tools, techniques, or how do we do it, or people can reach out to you? What is your suggestion and in order to properly budget our energy on a daily basis?
Yeah, you need a coaching accountant. Yeah. So, well, I think that first of all, it's the awareness, understanding the awareness, and most people don't want to spend the time to sort of, oh yeah, I get a kick out of doing exercise, fine, and then they forget about it. They don't realize and internalize that actually gives them something, and so that when they're not doing that kick, is that they start to feel lethargic. They start to have the effects of something like this, and they forget that that's what gives them the kick, or the energy, or the credit, a bank account. So as far as I'm concerned, is that, again, it's about awareness, sitting down and doing an audit. I mean, everybody can do an audit. If you don't balance your bank account, which I've never done, but I've audited and looked at how much I'm spending and how much I'm also earning, that type of thing. And that's important for us to understand. Working with a coach is absolutely incredible to be able to do that, because we can then look at what is energizing you and what is not in those particular, and we can talk it out. We can then identify it by writing it down. We can identify it through different processes. I have a variety of life hacks that I suggest to people, and whatever gives them excitement, and just as examples. And also, I think that is on my website. And also, I have a form, which is a life wheel, which is the investment portfolio that I suggest that this is how we are invested in our lives, which is in money or energy. And also, there's two different types of audits that you can do. And I think, yeah, so if people are interested, these are free downloads on my website. They're able to have this, which I think is important. Just remembering also the mindset is something that's important that goes along with, because that's energy as well as everything is. And it's what will drive, it will drive you. So mindset, when I was in Mongolia, a young girl said to me, mindset is your capital. So if you think about that, capital, what is that? That is currency, that is money, that is investment, that is your mindset, is energy. And it is also what will drive your performance in many ways. And that's why you need to know what drives it. That's one of the things that also, for example, and why people don't perform well, right? Is because they're given tasks at work that don't drive or inspire their energy. They actually drain them. And this is one thing that we don't think about. We just think, get the job done. It is about, well, what does inspire me? What would drive me? And we don't look at that. We're too busy, apparently, doing what I don't know.
Well, I think you're making a lot of sense, because I think this is the most important aspect of our life. So before we get on to other things, I think we need to fix our energy utilization, because if we are just wasting our energy in some useless activities, we are not achieving, we are not performing. And in the end of the day, our mindset is very negative. So I think you're making a lot of sense, Kevin. And you have given free information to our viewers. I think that is great. But just in case if people want to reach out to you just for this aspect of understanding how to utilize their energy, is there a place they can write to you? I mean, they can write to us. We will make that connection happen. But they can also...
Yeah, they can make the connection through you, Chandra, or they can also connect with me at my website, or which also they can connect with me at info@kevincottam.com. Sure. And my website is www.thenomadicmindset.com. And so happily, if you want to be able to connect with me, I'm grateful to chat, share.
In fact, I really loved today's discussion. It opened up my mind. I think that is one more aspect that we should think through before taking up any task during the day. Apart from checking our mails and checking our calendar, I think this is something that we must also do. And you also use very powerful word today, which is audit of energy, which is finite. So Kevin, thank you so much for giving us all this information and knowledge. We will catch up with you in the next one.
Great. Thanks enough a lot, Chandra. I'm really happy to be here and sharing.